Who targets firefighters? Nazis. Nazis with a bone to pick. Nazis who still have some smoke for that I suspect they were angry about for destroying their like the previous where is it? Or maybe it's I don't know, sheriff suspected ambush firefighters who asked them to move vehicle. Anyway, now let's get to the firefighter ambush in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is a famous location for actual anti-Semitism, not like the fake, like, oh, I don't like Israel conversation. Was the head of operation for Atomwaffen. I mean, it's like a neo-Nazi, white supremacist, white nationalist breeding ground.
Breaking developments, Idaho authorities have identified they're accused of ambush.
Yeah, I live in Idaho and I've been to Coeur d'Alene and there are literal Nazis, like proud Nazis with swastika flags. Yeah. I'm not saying like, oh, they're Nazis because they're like fascist Republicans or racist. I'm saying like actual straight up swastika wearing Nazis.
And killing those two firefighters in the mountains by Coeur d'Alene on Sunday. A third firefighter who was also shot is now fighting for his life after surgery. The local sheriff says they believe that the who was later found dead set a brush fire to lure the crew to the site and then opened fire on them. Here's dispatch audio as the attack unfolded.
Some law enforcement right now, there's an active zone. There's a 3's down, BC1's down. Everybody shot up here. Law enforcement, code 3 now up here.
CNN's Mark Morales is here now with breaking details on this. Mark, what are you learning about the suspect?
Well, Brianna, we now know who law enforcement thinks did this shooting, and they've identified Wes Raleigh, 20 years old. He's from the Idaho area. And as you know, the identification in this kind of a situation is very, very important because now investigators can take that full court press and really try to figure out what the motive here was. They could do search warrants on his home or places of business.
I mean, my instant speculation when I heard where this happened was that, oh, this is 100% not like an Iranian sleeper cell or anything like that the media can even present. And very much the type of person that does engage in the anti-Semitic violence, the neo-Nazis. But it turns out, and I thought initially, there's no way that this is like a 20-year-old, given where this happened and the significance of the area. I thought it wouldn't be like a 20-year-old, but like a 45-year-old, you know, former military, because that's usually the profile of this type of activity. This is like old school white supremacist, Aryan nation type activity. Turns out it is a 20-year-old.
Business, or they could even talk to loved ones, people that he knew, anything that can help them really dig into why he did this. Now, law enforcement was able to.
The reason why I want this question, because you keep asking this question, okay? Because once again, process of the ceasefire talks is going well is bullshit. So if you answered this question before, I'm sorry, but if you want to answer this, the situation keeps getting worse. What are the other options to stop this genocide? The reason why you keep asking this question is because I feel like you're doing Fed bait. Like you're asking this to, I don't know, entrap someone or something. Okay, just keep up the pressure. That's it. Just keep up the pressure. Okay, what is the answer that you want from someone like myself in front of 30,000 people? What is the answer? What do you think I should say here? Keep up the pressure, participate in boycott divestments, keep educating people. That's it. Call your politicians and keep protests. Okay? Comrade of the worker, like 3 minutes away from being like, here's the location of Tannerite and a stash of weapons that I hid. Come on, comrade, pick up the arms. Can you please not do a direct call to sir? Hello, fellow comrade of the workers of the world, unite. Literally hasn't stopped too. He just like kept spamming it over and over again. What happens when the phone call doesn't work? What happens when the one phone call away doesn't work? What happens when it doesn't work? Because it seems like the ceasefire is not imminent. You're supposed to lube it up a little bit before you put it in, dude. What is this? I got the federal government up my asshole. And this in the chat is like, hey, comrade. Hello, comrade. Could I give you a helping serving of direct military action against federal facilities? Like he's Like he's having this conversation in a War Thunder a Discord server or something. Like he's just doing it in front of 37,000 people. Maybe he's just a fan who's disillusioned. 20-year-old Groiper in Ohio, so crazy. Who would have seen this coming? I am surprised. This is funny. Comrade Crunk, would you be willing to hurt someone for Zoran? Hey, Hasan Abi, can you say it into the microphone? I couldn't hear you clearly the first time. Doktor ama iyi olmadığını söyledi.
To trace his cell phone signal, and that's how they were able to pinpoint exactly where he was on the mountain. But just as important was that initial 911 call. That's how first responders were able to learn not just a treasure trove of information, but that they were walking into a hornet's nest. Take a listen.
Two unresponsive battalion chiefs, gunshot wounds, multiple gunshot wounds. 2 Coeur d'Alene firefighters are down. We need law enforcement to get up here. We could possibly get the 2 wounded out. I'm pinned down behind Battalion 1's rig. It's clear to me that this fire was set intentionally to draw.
Now, Raleigh was found dead with a firearm near him, and we're still waiting for more details on this. But as we know, investigators and law enforcement are really pushing to figure out what happened here. Brianna?
Have they gotten a hold on that brush fire that they...
Who targets firefighters? Nazis. Nazis with a bone to pick. Nazis who still have some smoke for that I suspect they were angry about for destroying their like the previous where is it? Or maybe it's I don't know, sheriff suspected ambush firefighters who asked them to move vehicle. I don't know. Something about this doesn't add up. Something about this does not add up. Jason wrote, like, everything adds up. The only thing that everything that adds up, but the only thing that doesn't add up is the profile to being 20 years old. That's the one thing that is confusing to me. And I suspect we'll find out more about his family and whether or not they were involved in the upcoming days. Jason Rowley, the alleged far-right Wes Rowley's dad, who he was allegedly living and working with, seems to be a veteran who's a Nazi biker. Wes Rowley's father appears to be Jason Rowley, a former Army Cavalry scout and biker gang member who Wes likely was living, working with in Idaho. Yeah. His father fits the profile of the type of person that would be more willing to do something like this. This is what he posted, by the way. Jason Rowley. Find your first name. First letter of the name, Ahmed. Second letter of your last name, go. Like, no irony here, you know? I don't know if it's relevant, but yeah, today's the anniversary of the Aryan Inferno when firefighters burned down the Aryan Nation security house as a training exercise. I don't know if this is related to that though, but that does set up a motive. Oh, Jesus Christ!
They say he set, Mark.
Well, that's a really interesting part of this whole situation as well, because that fire increased to 26 acres overnight. And when you think back to how this all started with Raleigh setting this fire, first responders can't put that fire out because they're being shot at. So it was in those initial moments that this fire probably could have been contained by now, but now at this point has reached and really, as we've seen, gone up to about 26 acres. And that's also an issue because, remember, because of this shooting, it's a crime scene. So investigators were having to pick up evidence as quickly as possible because there was a fire all around them. This fire is a significant issue, and if they weren't being shot at, who knows how quickly they could have put this under control. Brianna?
Yeah, certainly. Mark Morales, thank you for the very latest on that.
Investigators in Idaho are looking for a motive after a suspect ambushed fire.
Why are you streaming someone else's content while being away? Basically just stealing. Dog, did you wait for the literal 10 seconds that I walked away from the camera? Like while I'm basically still in the room. Like I was just away from the camera to say this. That is insane. Like it is shocking. Also stealing what? CNN? Like what are you talking about? They don't give a shit. I can't believe how haters are. It's actually shocking. Bot.
Firefighters killing 2 of them. A third is in the hospital in stable condition. Police say they were lured by a deliberately set brush fire that's still burning. The suspect was found dead hours later with a gun nearby.
No, the tattoo doesn't say MS-13 also, chatters. It's 1488. He's a Nazi.
Steve Moore is with us right now. He's a former supervisory special agent with the FBI and a CNN law enforcement contributor. Steve, this is a very unusual situation. Have you ever seen anything like this before, where someone allegedly starts a fire, firefighters come, and then this individual allegedly starts shooting at those firefighters?
Well, you know, I actually did work a case back in, 20 years ago, where there was a man who was bent on destroying an oil refinery. And his plan was to start a fire at the oil refinery and shoot firefighters as they came in. But his plan was so that the fire could go out of control. This guy's different. This guy's situation is different because what he's trying to do is simply kill the firefighters. The fire itself was a lure, not the end goal.
Tell us more about how the investigation proceeds from here, given all the circumstances at play.
Well, you know, what's interesting to me is yesterday they said between 3:15 and say 7:45, right around there, they knew that phone was up there and they knew that it wasn't moving. So they knew they had a pretty specific target there. And during that time, 4.5 hours, they already knew the number of the phone, obviously, and they did a lot of investigation in that 4.5 hours, which helped them to determine, before they even got to the body, whether there was going to be accomplices, a potential motive, things like that. So they knew a lot about the person they were looking for before they even found him.
Yeah, just so disturbing.
Very disturbing.
You know, I mean, why would you go after a firefighter?
Something about the information that we're being presented doesn't add up, especially considering his stepfather, I think, or his father, being a neo-Nazi. The man suspected of ambushing firefighters who responded to a blaze he set on Canfield Mountain, fatally shooting 2 and seriously wounding a 3rd, did so after firefighters asked him to move his vehicle. First responders who rushed to a grass fire on the east side of Canfield Mountain Sunday quickly found themselves under attack from a gunman who shot from a tree. Authorities confirmed Monday that Battalion Chief John Morrison in the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department and Battalion Chief Frank Harwood of Kootenai County Fire and Rescue were fatally shot in Sunday's attack. Dave Zidal, as an engineer with Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, was wounded and remains in critical condition. Police identified the shooter was Wes V. Rowley, 20 years old. He had previously lived in California and Arizona, but had resided in the Coeur d'Alene area since 2024, police said, apparently living out of his car. Around 300 law enforcement officers from local, state, and federal agencies converged on Canfield Mountain after the shooting. While the suspected shooter was at large, fire crews were unable to approach the blaze and community members were stuck on the mountain. Hours after the fatal shooting and subsequent standoff, police used a cell signal to hone in on Rowley's location, finding him dead with a shotgun nearby and flames closing in on his body. Police said Rowley appears to have died by suicide. Rowley's motives remain unclear Monday. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris said no manifesto has been found so far. He noted that Rowley was once wanted to be a firefighter. We don't know if there's a nexus between that and what happened yesterday, he said, adding that investigators have not found any record of Rowley applying to any local fire agencies. Rowley had family in Priest River, according to KCSO. He did grow up in an arborist family and they climbed trees, Norris said. Rowley's grandfather, Dale Rowley, told KXLY-TV that his grandson was an avid hiker who worked for a tree company and was interested in forestry. Before Sunday's attack, Rowley had 5 very minor interactions with local law enforcement, including 2 interactions with Coeur d'Alene police and 3 with sheriff's deputies. Norris said that the interactions occurred after community members called in welfare checks while Rowley's vehicle was parked on private property. Rowley was cooperative during his past contacts with law enforcement, Norris said. He had no criminal history in Idaho or the 2 other states where he resided. During a news conference Monday afternoon, Norris showed a photo he said was posted on Rowley's Instagram story shortly before the shooting. The story feature allows Instagram. The photo appeared to show Rowley dressed in camo pattern clothing with a mask covering the lower half of his face. Norris said Rowley's Instagram account is now deleted, though it's unclear whether Rowley deleted the account himself. Second headline has quote from the chair of the county on the Aryan link in the last bullet point. Spokane could ban warrantless ICE arrests on... Wait, what? Oh, what we should know about the Idaho fire and shootings. To bring you up to speed, about midday June 29th, police say a gunman set a flame to the dry forest on Canfield Mountain just east of Dalton Gardens between Coeur d'Alene and Hayden. As the blaze spread and firefighting crews were investigating how to fight it, he opened fire on them, killing 2 and wounding 1, who was in critical but stable condition. Sunday evening, local, state, and federal law enforcement immediately responded, and a short time later, the shooter was dead. We don't know whether he died from police gunfire from the shooting himself. No, they said that he shot himself, right? They said he shot himself in the head with a shotgun. There is no evacuation order at the moment, but the fire is still burning. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris advised local residents to monitor. Several news agencies, including Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls Press, have identified the suspect as 20-year-old Wes Rowley. We'll be digging into the story in the coming days. About 300 law enforcement agents responded to the scene, including at least one Spokane. Are you happy? Based immigration ICE agent. Most were stationed for several hours at Cherry Hill Park on the east side of the ridge. What the fuck was an ICE agent doing? Range saw the following law enforcement agencies on scene. Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, ATF, U.S. Border Patrol, U.S. Marshals, Washington State Patrol, Idaho State Patrol, Spokane County Sheriff, Kootenai County Sheriff, Liberty Lake Police Department, Spokane Police Department, Post Falls Police Department, and Kellogg Police Department. The shooter's body was located via a stagnant cell phone signal by a federal surveillance helicopter at 3:16 p.m. and scooped up about an hour and a half later. Though investigators are still trying to determine a motive, Bruce Mater, the chair of the Kootenai County Board of Commissioners, referenced Coeur d'Alene's long history with white supremacy in a press conference. He said his comments were inspired by media speculation that the shooter could be influenced by white supremacy. Here's a lengthy quote from Mater, which references activity by Aryan Nations, a white supremacist hate group that was headquartered in Hayden and was later dismantled largely by grassroots activism. June 29, 2025 is a day that we will not forget in this community. It is the day evil showed his face, and we lost 2 outstanding professionals of the highest quality. I cannot fathom why anyone would commit such a heinous act. This kind of senseless violence is unheard of here. This is not who we are as a community, and when we hear how others portray the people who live here on the news, it's not true. What happened here decades ago is not reflective of the fine people who live here today. This is a wonderful place to live. The reason why he's saying that is because everyone immediately suspected that this was a, Aryan Nation style shooting. Wait, were the firefighters Nazis? No, man. What the? And no, the reason why I'm saying this doesn't add up is because, like, not to say that there isn't, I'm not implying that this is a false flag or something. What doesn't add up is the shooter's background. Like, it's shocking. If this was like a revenge killing against the fire department for, like, I don't know, burning down the former Aryan Nation stronghold, right? Then a 20-year-old is not going to fit the profile of a shooter because it happened a long fucking time ago. That is the work of like an older former military vet, neo-Nazi, more so something like his father, Wes Rowley's father, Jason Rowley, former Army Cavalry Scout and biker gang member who Wes was likely living / working with in Idaho. Yeah. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, northern Idaho. Who was it again that made their base of operations for the past handful of decades? Is the Aryan Nation, or Atomwaffen, right? Coeur d'Alene hate group's arrests extend North Idaho's long history with extremism. 31 members of a white nationalist group were arrested in Coeur d'Alene. Members of the Patriot Front, a group described by the Southern Poverty Law Center, described as a white nationalist hate group, were arrested downtown near a Pride in the Park event when the police pulled U-Haul truck and found the members. There's a lot of Nazis in Idaho. There's been a lot of Nazis in Idaho. There still are a lot of Nazis in Idaho. This type of Nazis. Today is the anniversary of the Aryan Inferno, when firefighters burned down the Aryan Nation Security House as a training exercise. Following the demolition, activist Greg Carr built the Human Rights Education Institute on the grounds of the neo-Nazi compound. But that was in 2001. Like, this kid wasn't even alive at that point. Do you understand why I said this doesn't make sense as a reason? Unless someone else was involved. Do you see what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Something about it just makes no sense. But yeah, of course, predictably, right-wing grifters are already lying about the Idaho shooter and claiming he's trans. Gotta muddy the waters to make sure accurate information doesn't get out. Yeah. I think the uncensored shirt here is like him wearing like a Trump shirt, by the way. I'm pretty sure who said it was early on this morning? Now, his dad is a neo-Nazi, and I think he has a stepfather as well. And his stepfather is even more interesting. His stepfather is like, it's not a Trump shirt. Oh, it's his dad's tree service. I thought it was a Trump as Rocky shirt or something. Tack Train, don't just put up North shit and say he's a neo-Nazi. Brother, what are you talking about? Like, he's a neo-Nazi because he's a part of a neo-Nazi biker gang. Further, Jason Rowley, a.k.a. Wolf Voorhees selections, this time a pic of him and a fellow Army cavalry scout in Afghanistan. Another one where he's holding a copy of the Necronomicon next to his skull. Actually, I think his hand tattoo just says Wes. This dude's mother sure had a wonderful taste in men. Honestly, pretty good vibes in general and the whole family. Also, a lot of Nazis are into like Nordic shit, including historical Nazis. Like the actual old school Nazis, like 1930s Nazis, were also deeply invested in like redefining German mythology by associating their own shared history, their own shared mythology with like Nordic runes and shit like that. So yeah. Anyway, we'll find out more about this story in the next couple of days, unless something even more insane happens again. After all, it wasn't that long ago when a right-wing guy went and killed Minnesota lawmakers, like tried to assassinate every Democrat in the state. And then the Republicans were like, nah, that's Antifa, actually. And then that was it. That story happened not that long ago. It's crazy that like we're done with that story.